Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. My name is Gordy Rush. This is the show that powers industry in the state of Louisiana. Tim Johnson is my co-host. Tim, we've got a special show for you today.
We really do, Gordy, and I'm excited about our guest, leader of the state's Chamber of Commerce, the state's Manufacturing Association, Will Green, president and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. We call it LABI. Welcome, brother.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me. This is exciting.
We're excited.
I think that those of us who are involved in industry and working in government, we fully understand what LABI is and what its mission is. But for those of us, those who might be watching who are not as familiar, give us a little bit of background, mission, your governance, history of LABI.
Sure. Yeah. No, I appreciate the question. So we are, as you said, we're a little unique in that we are the state's Chamber of Commerce and the state's Manufacturing Association. And so we were founded, it's our 51st birthday actually this year. We celebrated 50 years last year. And so we were founded out of a bit of a unique circumstance back in 1975 when really ironically, kind of similar to the situation we found ourselves in a couple of years ago when I became the CEO. In 1975, our state was not seeing the kind of economic growth across the South that other states were seeing. And when you kind of looked at why that was, it was because we were not a right-to-work state like other states were across the South. And so that was holding us back, really. And so as a result of that, these individual organizations, the state's chamber, the state's manufacturing association, and the state's education policy lead individually could not get the right-to-work policy passed. And so they decided, let's join forces, let's join together, let's unify and create what is now the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry and become a unified voice for business in the state. And their first mission was to get right to work passed, and they did it in their first year of existence. And since that time, over 50 years, we have grown into the largest general business advocacy group in the state. Our mission is really simply to provide the best possible place to do business, to create the best possible place for Louisiana businesses to grow and thrive in a free market atmosphere. And so, I tell people all the time, we represent everybody from the small mom and pop dry cleaner all the way up to the Fortune 500 companies. And I think we do that in a very informed and transparent and efficient manner because we have issue councils that any member can be on, and they inform us, they tell us their issues, their passions. We have what's called our program of work. It's if you're a sports fan out there, it's our playbook. Yeah. It's a living, breathing document. It's evolved over time. Our members meet every year, and they tell us if that needs to be updated, if it's still good, if it's still relevant, if the priorities are still the same. And so that's really, how I think we operate in an efficient manner, and we still respect, the past and how we were formed, and that we've evolved over time to be really the nimble organization that our members created us to be and need us to be today.
You talk about that blueprint for improving Louisiana and improving Louisiana's business climate. You guys have developed what you call Louisiana Driven, steering the state to succeed. Mm-hmm. I think there are 9 specific goals that are involved in that document and that plan. I know that you've gone around the state presenting this information. There's some of the things that you've already worked to accomplish some of the goals. I know some are still in progress. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so when I started kind of mentioning LABI and our history, I said it is kind of something interesting, and it's ironic, and it struck me that back in 1975 our organization was formed because the state was not competing as along with our neighboring states for the kind of economic development and growth that we should have been when you consider the fact that we are a state with an abundance of natural resources, right? I mean, other states would just kill for Mississippi River, the kind of ports that we have, the energy we have, the rail we have, the affordable housing that we have, the land that we have. And despite all that, coming into 2023, when I took over, we were losing more population than we were gaining. We were in the 40s in our rankings in our tax, 40s in our education rankings. We weren't seeing the kind of progress and that other states were seeing. We were the highest cost state for insurance in the country, and casualty insurance, and double the median state for property insurance. And we had 3 of the top 10 violent crime cities in the country in Louisiana. We're sitting in one now. Shreveport was the other, and New Orleans was the third. And so as a result, projects were coming, people were leaving, and we were losing out on opportunity despite all of these God-given natural resources. And so we knew that we had to do something different because we had a tremendous opportunity with a new governor, new commissioner of insurance, new attorney general, new leadership in the House, and new leadership in the Senate. But we didn't want to hand them some dusty old playbook, right? And so we came together with a lot of our experts, business partners, guys like you, Tim, and businesses that really wanted to see change. And so we came up with the LA-driven strategic plan, and it covers a little bit of everything, right? Insurance, tax, education, workforce. Within that plan is really 9 goals that we said if we can accomplish these 9 goals over the next 5 to 7 years, we really can be a state that is an economic force across the South. And I'm really excited to tell y'all that in just 2 years, we've passed about 100 bills underneath that LA-driven brand. And we are really already ahead of really the progress we've needed to make. And so underneath those 9 goals, we've accomplished 2. 4 out of the 9, we're very close. And then there's a couple that we've got a lot of work left to do.
Tell me a little bit about your organization. You've got a tremendous board, some tremendous leaders over there. I know Scott Ballard was just put in as your chair.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that, just joking. He's a friend, but a lot of good people like Scott involved.
Yeah, so we are fortunate, to have so many great leaders involved, and we represent again so many companies of different shapes and sizes, and I think as a result of that, we are so well informed, right? And they helped put together this strategic plan, right? Because here's one of the things we know as the state chamber: the needs and challenges of Baton Rouge in a Baton Rouge business may not be the needs and challenges of a business in Lake Charles or a business in Shreveport or a business in Monroe, right? And so if we're going to be the voice of the state's chamber and the state manufacturing association, we need to be informed by businesses of the state. And so it is we are very fortunate that we have leaders like Scott. My former chairman was a guy named Tom Cox, golfballs.com, tremendous business. He's built a global business, one of the top sales of golf balls in the country, out of a small business that grew into just an unbelievable entrepreneur. Next year I'll have Scott Poole, the CEO of Royal Martin, as my leader. And so the leadership of LABI is incredible, and they help inform us and guide us along the way.
I want to go back to the strategic goals, right? And maybe ask it in a simple way relative to those goals and relative to the plan. Let's start with, where is Louisiana winning? Where are we doing well? Where are we meeting the goals that you talk about in your plan, Will? What's going right here?
Yeah, so one of the things, the important things, and you talked about the goals, you talked about kind of where we are, and really what you're asking is, like benchmarking, right? I mean, I think you all know you're business guys, and if, I'm sure everybody listening they're interested and they're listening because they're probably business people, right? And you don't just put a plan together and just leave it alone and put it on a whiteboard, right? You go back and you say, all right, where are we doing right? What have we done wrong? What goals have we accomplished? And what's the next step, right? And so just like that, we didn't want to just put this plan together and just put it on a postcard somewhere, or put it on a whiteboard somewhere. We wanted to put the plan out there and then benchmark along the way and see, okay, what have we accomplished? Is it working? Do we need to pivot? And I'm excited to tell you that in just a couple of years, we have a lot of work left to do, but it is working. I mean, we've grown our jobs to the middle third of states. We've already increased wages to the middle third of our states. We're now ranked 24th in wage growth. We wanted to graduate more kids. We wanted to get more kids in internships. We're almost to our goal there. We wanted to reduce property and violent crime by 15%. We've done violent crime by 12, property crime by 13. And so these are the kind of progress we've made. And as a result, You're seeing Amazon build a $12 billion data center. You're seeing Hyundai Steel come in and build $1 billion steel plant. You're seeing the Meta and the CF Industries. You're seeing all these massive projects being announced like never before.
Yeah, and it really is a result of the climate that is, we talk about this a lot, that investment, economic development follows certainty, right? It follows quality of life. It follows all of those things. And so one of the real remarkable things that I know you guys have been heavily involved in is this education turnaround that's going on in Louisiana. Superintendent Cade Brumley and his team have done massive work in our state.
Tremendous.
And if we're going to lift people out of poverty, it starts with a quality education. And now more than ever, maybe Louisiana's competing there.
Yeah, look, I mean, that was one of the first things that we, the Landry administration, the state chamber, our partners said, look, we got to get better, and we got to, if we're going to keep talent, attract talent, education is key. And so some of the things we did, look, we gave power to the parents back over their tax dollars in establishing education savings accounts. We doubled down on high dosage tutoring in mathematics, especially at those 3rd and 4th grade levels. We cut red tape for corporate charter schools and expanded our charter schools. And as a result, we went from the 40s down to the 30s in our education rankings. We made higher jumps in education than just about every other state in the country. And as a result, Trump's education secretary started her tour here in Louisiana. And she told everybody, I'm starting my countrywide tour in Louisiana because this is an example of a state doing education right.
Unbelievable.
Very nice.
Yep.
Let's talk about some areas of the state needs to improve in your opinion.
Yeah, so look, we're still losing the population of about 25 to 64-year-olds. So we're losing that working age population. We still have one of the lowest labor force participation rates in the South, and so we've got to get more people working, right? And so, how do we do that? Well, we do it with internships, right? I mean, we need paid internships because studies are overwhelming that if you can get a kid into a paid internship, he comes out workforce ready. And he stays normally in that job or in that state. And so, and the kid, it's a win for the kid too, because studies have also shown that they come out making more money. And so the state wins because we get to keep the kid. The business wins because they get an employee, and the kid wins because he makes more money. Early learning, right? Early learning, early childhood. A lot of people ask me, well, what is getting a kid into a daycare, quality daycare? How does that help improve the workforce now? Well, if you ask and if you dig into the labor force participation rate, what you find out is a lot of those are females. And if you ask them, well, why aren't you working? They tell you one of two things: I can't find childcare, or I can't afford childcare. And so if we can find high quality, affordable childcare, think about how many more parents we can put back into the labor force. And so these are a couple of things we're looking at, along with supporting the boot. If you don't know about the boot, I tell you, look at it. It is a phenomenal program that was propped up that LABI supports, we're on the board of, that puts veterans into jobs, because we've got a lot of quality bases here in Louisiana. And when those folks get out of the military and leave those bases, they've been leaving the state. We want to keep that talent here. And so those are some of the ways that we're going to be focused on to try to get more people working here in Louisiana. And then look, I talked about tax, right? I mean, we went from the 40s to the 30s in tax. We're still one of 9 states with an inventory tax, and we're still one of 2 states in the country without a centralized sales tax collection system. And so there's a ballot measure coming up in a couple of weeks that we can vote on that'll give the locals the tools to get rid of that inventory tax. So we're supportive of that. But these are just a couple of ways that we can keep going for growth here in Louisiana.
One of the issues that LABI has historically and traditionally tackled is tort reform in our state. Now, I know we did some things relative to insurance and insurance rates, but there's more work to do there, isn't there?
Oh, sure. Look, we have to look at our civil justice system and figure out where are we still an outlier to try to make us a more affordable state for commercial auto and personal auto. Okay. I mean, when you talk to citizens or individuals or employees or businesses, either looking to grow here or looking to come here, one of the first things they say is, my auto insurance is going to go through the roof. Or, when you're talking to an agent and he's trying to place commercial insurance with a business, I can't tell you how many businesses say, well, if I move my business across state lines, I would save a fortune. And those are not the kind of stories we want to be telling. And how we prevent that or how we diminish that is we look at the laws in other states and then we compare them to our laws and look where we're an outlier. And so we did a lot of work last year, but we still have a lot of work left to do. Oklahoma passed a damage cap bill this past year to try to reduce some of the nuclear verdicts going on that are happening here in Louisiana against some of our best companies that we have, some of the best employers we have. And third-party litigation financing. There's third-party funders out there, both domestic and foreign, that are coming in and funding lawsuits against businesses. And a lot of times the plaintiffs don't even know about it. And so we have to put some sunshine on that. And so these are ways that we can continue to do tort reform, insurance reform, to make us a more attractive place to live and work, and for insurance carriers to come in here and write business.
And it's all about affordability and quality of life, and you guys
Absolutely.
are focused on that. One of the things I've heard you talk about recently is workforce development. The governor announced an executive order during Washington Mardi Gras about revamping and revitalizing the state's workforce system. LABI has talked a lot about this program that you're calling Cradle to Grave Pathways. Let's talk about workforce development reform. Will, what is LABI doing, and what do we expect to happen over the next 6 months?
Yeah, so look, we're really excited about what the governor talked about and worked with Susie over at LA Works, because the reality is that we really do have to streamline upskilling and reskilling, focus on needs-based jobs and cutting red tape. And what unfortunately what was happening was there was too many cooks in the kitchen, too much red tape, too many barriers to really upskilling and reskilling. And when you have a lot of barriers and you don't really know what needs-based jobs are out there, then you don't know what resources to focus. And so we really need to streamline and connect the needs-based jobs to the labor force, find out who we need to upskill, who we need to reskill, and get that done as quickly and as efficiently and as cost-effectively as possible. So that's one thing that we need to do, and obviously government doesn't do a great job of that. And so as much as we can make that look like a business and put that into the hands of private entities or public-private partnerships, we probably should. The other side of that is internships, right? I mean, what we're looking at LABI is legislation like what Michigan did years ago to help their workforce problem is they created a fund at the state where if you have a needs-based job and you have and you can prove you're in a needs-based industry, then you can tap into this fund to help offset the cost of a paid intern or training for a paid intern. And so this is something we're real excited about. We think that this could be really a barrier to some of those employers out there that they have an internship, they need an intern, or they need to retool or upskill somebody, but it's not as cost effective. This can help offset some of that cost.
Yeah, and these cradle to grave pathways and all of the things you're talking about, critical. We have to prepare young men and women in this state to be eligible to take those jobs. If you talk about education reform, if you talk about workforce development reform, and you prepare individuals to participate successfully in the economy, that's what lifts our state out of poverty. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else in the legislative session that's upcoming that is on your radar?
Yeah, so we talked about our three big priorities: insurance reform, workforce, obviously cradle to career, and then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to continue to defend Louisiana's position as a global leader in energy. One of the things here's what we know. I talked about a lot of companies coming to Louisiana and billions of dollars in projects announced. Just about every one of those projects has a carbon neutral aspect to it. So that's one of the things we know, right? I mean, there's billions of dollars tied to this clean energy demand. And I'm not a scientist, and I have a JD. I don't have an engineering or geological degree. But one of the things I know from working for the car dealers for a long time is if the customer wants it, you're going to do what you can to try to provide it, right? So the reality is that nationally, globally, this carbon neutral, natural gas, solar, all above energy approach is something that we need to be talking about, and we need to be doing here in Louisiana. The second thing I know is that the federal government doesn't really like giving up control of much, and they've given us primacy, which means they've given us control over permitting and carbon capture, which must mean they think we can do it really well, really efficiently, and really safely here in Louisiana, which we can. I mean, we are the expert in energy, and we've got the experts here, and we've got the geology here, and we have the position here. And so this is $1 billion of opportunity, and it's not just for the state. It's for the local governments. It's for that local restaurant. It's for the local gas station. It's for the local hotel, and it's for the local business owner there. That's who's going to benefit. Who else is going to benefit is that local school, that local fire. And so it really is a tremendous opportunity that if we waste it, Texas is going to get it, Mississippi's going to get it. And so it's something that we're excited to go down to the Capitol and talk about, educate on, and tell folks how big of an opportunity this is for Louisiana to remain the global leader in energy across the country and across the world.
Well, Secretary of LED Susan Bourgeois talks often about the $70 billion worth of announced projects in our state. We are told, we don't know, but that there may be another $70 billion in the pipeline here, all related to energy, and most with some sort of carbon capture aspect to those projects. If you think about why Louisiana is such a great place for it, it's all about our geology, right? And we talk about this all the time. Well, the same geology that trapped the oil and gas here for millions of years that has allowed our state to have such a robust energy sector is the same geology that will capture and store the CO2. And I think you made a great point. If we don't do it, Texas will.
That's right.
If we don't do it, Mississippi will. If we don't do it, worse yet, China will, right? And so here's an opportunity to once again lead based on a customer demand. We've got to make sure we're in that space.
Yeah. And look, I know you're passionate about it. We're passionate about continuing to lead, continuing to provide those opportunities, right? And it's not just about it really covers everything we talked about, right? Because it's jobs and it's affordability, right? I mean, if we're going to remain affordable in an energy standpoint as a country, it's affordability, and then it's opportunity, right? I mean, it's keeping our best and brightest here and not sending them to Texas, because that's all this is going to do if we don't take advantage of it. And so, again, that's something we're going to be talking about. And so, if we're going to keep moving the state forward, if we're going to keep checking boxes in our LA-driven strategic plan, we think the next step this year is that all above energy approach, continuing insurance reform, and then cradle to career pathways, keeping people here working, employed, and then finding talent.
Will Green, I got to tell you, I'm in the space that you impact on a daily basis. I'm grateful for the work that you and your team do. Congratulations on all of the success. Keep pushing for these additional goals in our state. That's what's going to lift our state out of poverty, give our people opportunity, and make us all that we can be. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
He is Tim Johnson. I'm Gordy Rush. This has been the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. A reminder, please subscribe, hit that like button, leave a comment if you will. All that's going to help us spread the word and get the good news about Louisiana out to everyone out there. Thanks for watching.